I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation by Assembly of God. We got to stand in.
Yes, exactly right. Let's bow together. Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here tonight for the business of this city that you've blessed us to be a part of. And Lord, our desire is for you to be honored with the decisions that are discussed and made. And we just need your guidance. We are people who are relying upon you. Lord, at this time of Christmas, we celebrate your arrival, your birth. And we just pray that as friends and family gather, that you'd be glorified in these times. So lead us tonight. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. I will point out we need to add an executive session at the end for legal. So,
Come on. It's my anniversary.
well, we keep getting letters. Stop the mail. Roll call, please.
Sabers. Here. Goldammer. Here. Dosher. McCardle. Barrington. Here. Bathke. Here. Charks. Here. Smith.
Okay, we have a quorum. Consent agenda items. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a council member for discussion at the beginning of formal agenda items. Is there anything you wish to remove? Okay, discussion on anything? Questions on anything? Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Goldammer. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Whoops, sorry. Hold on. Roll call. My fault.
Sabers.
Aye.
Goldammer.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle. Barrington.
Aye.
Bathke.
Aye.
Charks. Aye. Smith.
Aye. Motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address the mayor, member, city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken. Anybody wish to address council? Okay. Entertain a motion to sit as the Board of Adjustment. Motion by Mr. Barrington.
Second.
Second by Mr. Goldhammer. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing an action on the application for Wayne Lambert variance permit. Wayne Lambert has applied for variance permit for a side yard setback of 0 feet versus 3 feet and a rear yard setback of 7 feet versus 16 feet for a 32-foot deep by 44-foot wide unattached accessory building with a door parallel to the alley being built in the same overall footprint of an existing garage being torn down, located at 909 East First Avenue, legally described as Lot 4, Block 3, Applegate Edition. City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Said property zoned R3, medium density. Mr. Jenigas.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Planning Commission motion to recommend approval. There were 2 A's, 3 nays, and 2 absent, so motion failed. Published in the paper, notices were sent out to the neighbors, signs posted. There were 6 letters returned in favor, none opposed for it at all. Actually, the neighbor to the west, which is where he's requesting the 0-foot setback, said let him do whatever he wants to do. Planning Commission, they more had the concern from the 0-foot setback than the 7-foot setback, and we did it in one motion. I'd ask you tonight to do it in 2 separate motions, one for the side yard setback and one for the rear yard setbacks. That way, if the side yard is denied and the 7-foot is still approved, he could still move forward with that. He's not able to be here tonight. He's actually in Hawaii. Rough place to be right now.
Bummer.
Yeah. I have talked to him since that last meeting. He really wants to just be able to keep where he's at it already for his side yard and rear yard setback there. So that way he doesn't encroach upon his house and has a little bit bigger area for his patio there.
What was the problem that the Planning Commission had with it?
They don't like a 0-foot because you can't get out and do any maintenance on that side of your house or on the side of the garage.
That's where his existing.
That's where there's about 2 feet in between the 2 garages right now, and he walks through there and cleans out, he said. So your overhang is where your 0-foot would be at. So if he has a foot there for his and a foot on the other side.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Chark. Second. Second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this?
I remember Danny Allen used to always say those lots in town are narrow, and sometimes they require that we have a little leniency with them.
It is a 50-foot wide lot there.
It is, but he knew that when he bought it, so
Yep.
that's not an excuse
Yep.
for a variance, quite frankly. That's up to you
Nope.
guys.
No, but he currently, it's already an existing
Well,
space.
it's,
so-
but you know it's 50 foot when you buy it, therefore it's not a hardship. If you
In
don't
your
like what
humble-
you're living at, you have to.
In your humble opinion, right? Okay.
Yeah, well, when you get sued again, you'll find that to be your humble opinion as well, so. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Entertain a motion for Board of Adjustment to adjourn City Council resuming regular session. Oh, yeah, do you want a second Well, she already did it once, so we're good. Yep, okay. All right. So no, I guess not.
Move to
Okay.
reconvene.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer. Second by Mr. Barrington. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Agreement A 2023-63 Airport Design Services for hangar at airport with Mead Hunt. Mr. Schrader.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council, this agreement is for an independent fee estimate. The city is applying for a 90% grant to construct a new hangar at the Mitchell Municipal Airport. Design and bidding services is proposed in the 2024 budget. Helms and Associates has been chosen to complete the engineering services for the project. As part of this process, an independent fee estimate needs to be provided by an independent firm. This is an FAA requirement. Mead and Hunt was contacted for such services and will provide the services for a fee of $5,000, which is also a reimbursable expense through the FAA. The IFE will be prepared to meet the FAA requirements, and city staff does recommend approval. I can answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Savers. Second by Mr. McCardle. Discussion. Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Agreement A 2023-65, geotechnical exploration and report of the South Wastewater Treatment Plant with Geotech. Mr. Schrader.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council, this is for our South Wastewater Treatment Plant project. Geotech services will include test borings, soil testing, and a report of their findings. The fee is hourly, not to exceed $15,000. The services are for, there will be a few buildings put up there, and they will give design recommendations with the soils that are out there for the footings, et cetera. Staff does recommend approval of the agreement with Geotech for an amount not to exceed $15,000. I can answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Questions? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer, second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Action to approve Agreement A 2023-66, geotechnical exploration report at the North Wastewater Treatment Plant with Geotech. Mr. Schrader.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council. This again is for our South Wastewater Treatment Plant project,
North.
but the work is being conducted on our North Wastewater Treatment Plant project, where a proposed earthen equalization basin is planned to be constructed. Their services will include test boring, soil testing, and a report of their findings. The fee is hourly, not to exceed $14,000, and staff does recommend approval. I can answer any questions you may have.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Barrington. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this?
We are currently at the end of our second two-year rotation with our wrecker operators. The use of these operators are for snow removal, parking violations. We do occasionally have issues where Public Works is doing removals for street work or something. We've had contract rates with these individuals for the past 4 years, last two contracts, and we have not had an increase in the rates that they are receiving. What you have tonight is some amendments to the contract. Basically, there's a synopsis section that is showing the changes that we're requesting to that contract. Notably, we go through section 14, add the language, a storefront business, to where we did not have that. Reasoning behind that is we've had some individuals approach us that don't actually have a business. They just want to rent a space, store the vehicles, and then release them as they get calls. We want to have a business front there that people can come down and get their vehicles retrieved. Addition we're making or requesting to make is that we keep up with the CPI to maintain an adjustment to those rates as we go forward. Sioux Falls is also doing a very similar situation to this, to just follow that CPI at the end of the year for adjustments. Get down into the next section, you're seeing changes there in red, changing 125 to 160 for vehicles during the daytime rates, 185 at the evening rate. On down farther, motorist assist, where they would come out, changing that from 70 to 85. In the past, we've not had a fluid pickup fee. We find that the expenses there have increased for those operators. We weren't accommodating them anything to purchase the floor dry, and, of course, that is an expense to them. Connector substantial action fee, if they would hook on to something, owner comes out, says, I'll move my car, please set my car down. They do have the ability to do that, but yet still recoup some fee for their actions taken on those. Storage fees, we have increased from 30 to 50. You'll see that bottom of page 1 and top of 2. Another thing that has come up, Sioux Falls, I've spoken to their individuals about these with the increase of electric vehicles. If those are in a crash and the battery is damaged, there's a substantial risk of what is called thermal runaway, where those batteries overheat and cause fires. So those are, a special consideration when they start storing them, and that fee is actually following the Sioux Falls rate for those. Documentation fee, if the recovery removal agencies need to file paperwork at the end if they're not being reclaimed, and then also the weekend release fee. We spoke to our operators, and they said for an employee to come down with increased wages, over that course of 4 years, they felt that was a fair amount to have somebody come down on a holiday or on a weekend to release a vehicle for folks. The rest of the contract remains unchanged. We do recommend approval of this. We haven't had an increase in 4 years.
Questions, comments? Motion by Mr. McCardle. Second by Mr. Savers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Agreement A 2023-68, 2024 Equipment and Storage Contract with Axon. Mr. Coster.
Mayor and Council, what we are asking for this evening is authorization for the mayor to sign this agreement. We are at the end of our contract with Axon, formerly Taser, for our body camera storage system. The warranties on those systems have since lapsed. Any malfunctions we have are now coming out of replacement costs. The agreement that you have before you would end at the end of 2028. If we can sign this and get it submitted yet in 2023, we lock the prices that we were given as a quote. If you remember, at the beginning of 23, we were looking at numbers that had increased concerning our fleet systems, which are in our cars. That was over a $4,000 increase that was not expected. I don't have an exact amount, but I'm being told that the 2024 rates for these body cameras will go up. If we can lock this in, we won't receive any product or any service until 2024, but we're holding our 2023 quote. So I'm requesting approval for this so we can preserve some money that we can better use elsewhere.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Savers.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Agreement A 2023-69, 2024-2025 subscription with Power DMS. Mr. Coster.
You're hearing a lot from me this evening. The gist of this is exactly the same as the one prior. We're requesting approval to sign this agreement in 2023 to avoid increased costs that we know are coming in 2024 for Power DMS. This was approved in budget for 2024. If you would look at the itemized quote, what we're looking at is a subscription service that we can better document and maintain records for our policies and procedures. It will also, note any changes when the changes were made, strike-throughs and so on for those which we can't do currently. We're looking at a add-on for our FTO, which is our field training program. We are also looking at better being able to document and maintain records for our department training. Going into the future, we see more liability, more opportunity that we need to have much better records and better retrieval of those records, and that's what Power DMS will be able to do for us. We do recommend approval of this. It is a 2-year agreement, but again, we are just trying to maintain the prices that we were quoted for the budget request.
Okay, questions, comments? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer, second by Mr. Barrington. Discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Agreement A 2023-70, Memorandum of Agreement with Davidson County for the Edward Byrne Memorial JAG Grant. Mr. Coster.
Mayor and Council, what we are requesting is an addition. In the September 5th council meeting, you approved us to apply for the Justice Assistance Grant. That was approved. As part of that process, we need to have an agreement between the county and the city that those funds were to be made available to them as the disparate half of this agreement. Spoke with Sheriff Har, and they had no requests, no needs at this time. So the MOU will be forwarded on to Bureau of Justice, just stating that the funds will be used solely by the city, that the county does not request any portion of that. This has not been seen by the county commission yet, but will be at their next meeting.
Okay, questions? Motion by Mr. McCardle. Second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2023-89, contingency transfers for the 2023 budget. Ms. Zellwein.
Mayor and council, included in your packet is a resolution that will move funds from the contingency budget in 2023 to the individual departmental budgets as they're shown on the screen and in the resolution. The contingency budget, we use that to offset unanticipated costs each year. Instead of having individual contingencies in every individual departmental budget, we put them into one so that we can address those as they come up. The majority of what you're going to see listed there are for either repairs that were unanticipated. We had a lot of mechanical repairs this year. We also had the service dog. The council agreed to move forward with that. We did get the other half of the cost paid for by a grant, so that's less than what you had originally approved. And then we also did have the snow removal expenses that we knew were coming from early this year. So far, we've been good towards the end of the year. And then the last one that I show on there would be the city's commitment to pay the cost of issuance and financing for, or the finance interest costs for the indoor pool, and moving those into the debt service account so they're ready to be used when we need to make those future debt service payments. As a whole, like I said, the contingency budget for 2023 is $811,628. The total of the contingency transfers included in the resolution is $701,819. So that's within the 2023 contingency budget. It leaves a remaining balance of $109,809. You do have one other special meeting that we're going to have at the end of the year, December 27th, I want to say, at 5 o'clock. So if for some reason something crazy happened where we had a major snow event or something like that, we'd still have one more opportunity to address it at that time as well. If someone has wood they can knock on so we can prevent that from happening, that'd be great. But, I don't have any other comments. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer it. Otherwise, I recommend approval as shown on the resolution.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Charks,
Second.
second by Mr. Goldhammer. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2023-90, setting hearing and appointing appraisal board for land swap by the new ground storage tank. Mr. Johnson.
All right, so this would be just the preliminary step in this process. This will set the hearing, which will be next Wednesday at a special council meeting. It sets the appraisal board, 3 Mitchell residents to appraise the land that we'll be swapping. Just an overview on the swap itself. Basically, what the city is doing is taking the north 4 acres of our ground storage water tank site and transferring that for approximately about 6 2/3, Joe? About 6 2/3 acres west of the railroad in that same general area. We have some water distribution projects that will be happening in a portion of that area. It's not super useful for any private development because it is kind of a narrow strip between the highway and the railroad. So it might have some value to us, but probably not to, a developer or anything like that. The land that we'll be transferring in return is not space that we particularly need. It would be useful crop ground, and it would be desirable for the other party here to start putting that back in service. It was farmed before we took ownership, and then since, I think, last year when the new owner acquired the sale barn area, it hasn't been farmed this year. So I think that's kind of the basic details on it. I can open it up for any questions if there are any. I know that you'll also see on here later, and Joe can talk in more detail, but there's a couple of easements that relate to that same water distribution project. At least one of those would be within this area. So once the swap goes through, the easement kind of goes away at that point. So they do kind of tie together.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer,
Second.
second by Mrs. Charles. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2023-91, plat of Tract 1 of Blindauer's Addition in the southeast quarter of Section 18, Township 104 North, Range 60 west of the 5th primary in Davis County, South Dakota. Mr. Jenigas.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 5-0 with 2 absent. This is outside the ETJ, but is within 3 miles of city limits, so it's county zoning jurisdiction. County has approved this at Planning Commission and County Commission. Right now, their land is described by measurements, and per Davidson County ordinance, you cannot obtain a building permit until it is platted out. They are not requesting a building permit at this time, but they are looking for it in the future, so they're coming in compliance with the zoning ordinance for the county. I can answer any questions that you have.
Questions? Comments? Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Sabers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2023-92, surplus of building at 620 North Lawler. This is the SPN building.
Yep, that's correct. So this would be a surplus of the old SPN building at 620 North Lawler Street. Again, it's just the building. It's not any interest in the property at all. It's just the structure itself, not anything to do with the land. So what this would do is surplus the building. We would then place it up for auction. I know that staff will be in discussion with, or they'd have solicited quotes for an auctioneer to provide that service. I believe they'll be reaching out to them in the near future to discuss those terms and to set an actual date for the auction. And everything like that. We did supply some terms and conditions here as to how the sale, or what the buyer would need to do when purchasing the building as far as removing the structure from the site and all of that information. I think that covers most of the basics. We can open it up for questions.
So is it pretty typical to sell a commercial building like this? I mean, homes are sold like that, but this might be my first experience of a commercial.
Yeah, it'd be the first time since I'm here too. It's not unheard of. I know that you have a building that's removed from a site. So I don't know how common it is, but I know that it happens
And
somewhat.
this building obviously has good enough bones that someone would take a look at it and go, hey, that's a heck of a building, I want to buy it.
That's the idea. If they don't, then the alternative is we just demolish it and take the materials to the dump ourselves. But, even if you auction the building off for a small amount and they remove it, you're coming out well ahead. So.
Sure. Well, good luck with that. Hope it works.
Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Charles. Second by Mr. Barrington. Discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2023-93, dissolving Business Improvement District Number 2. Mr. Johnson.
All right, so we went through the process of getting bid 4 put into place about 2 months or so ago. As you're aware, throughout that process, we talked about how bid 2 would be terminated at the end of the year, and the new bid would go into place January 1st. So this would be part of that process. In order for us to get it done by the end of the year, like we said, the hotels put the petition together to terminate bid 2. We received that petition in here. So really all that's left to do is for council to act on this resolution tonight, and then the bid will terminate effective December 31st, 2023. And then, like I said, bid 4, the new hotel bid, would carry on January 1st, 2024.
Yeah, any questions? Motion by Mr. McCardle. Second by Mr. Savers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2023-94, acknowledging the transfer of a franchise agreement from Northwestern Corporation doing business as Northwestern Energy to Northwestern Energy Public Service Corporation doing business as Northwestern Energy. Mr. Johnson.
All right, this might be my easiest one of the night. Really, all Northwestern is doing is changing the name of the entity that they're doing business as in South Dakota. And really, the reason that they're doing that is they're breaking up their breaking up their organization to individual states, more or less. So this will be the new entity that does business in South Dakota. The name is not changing. The service that they provide is not changing in the Mitchell area. So it's really just changing the name.
Motion by Mr. Barrington. Second by Mr. Bathke. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2023-95, authorizing easement agreements for Water Distribution System Project 2020. Mr. Schrader.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council. This resolution is approving 3 separate easement agreements with 2 property owners. First property owner being Mitchell Properties HLC2 LLC, and the other property owner is Cabela's Wholesale LLC. This is related to our water distribution project in conjunction with our ground storage tank. There is attached documentation showing locations along with the easement agreements and surveyor affidavits. Staff does recommend approval, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Is this that work they're doing already out there?
Yep, correct.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Barrington. Okay, further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Second reading on ordinance O 2023-14, supplemental appropriation ordinance for fiscal year 2023. Ms. Owen, you got anything you want to say?
There are no changes to the ordinance from first reading, but I'm happy to answer any questions that council might have.
No question? Take a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer. Second by Mr. Barrington. Discussion. Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Motion to adopt. Motion by Mr. Barrington. Second by Mrs. Charks. Discussion. Roll call.
Sabers. Sabers.
Aye.
Goldammer.
Aye.
Dosher. Sorry. Dosher. McCardle. Barrington. Bathke. Charks.
Aye.
Smith.
Motion carries. It's adopted. Entertain a motion to go into executive session according to South Dakota Codified Law 125-2-3 legal. Motion by Mr. Goldhammer, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. No action. No action will be after the executive session.